I find so personally offensive, but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right?
There you have it, America. That was Hillary Clinton's.
Racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
And she goes on.
Unfortunately, there are people like that.
That's what today's episode is about, people. We're going to discuss.
And he has lifted them up.
And he has lifted them up. That, of course, if you're just joining us, was a clip of Hillary Clinton just before the 2016 election when she said that she only did one thing wrong, I think, and you may take offense at this if you're a Trump supporter, but I'm going to break it down for you. This is not an attack on Trump supporters. It's an observation. It's an observation. Hillary it was kind of a throwaway line, I think. Former Secretary Clinton, I think, was trying to throw her base a little red meat. She wanted to hit hard. Donald Trump was an unconventional candidate who would lie without the least concern because his people didn't hold him. If you're a Trump supporter, you don't hold him accountable to the truth. He loves lying to y'all. He does. It's one of his superpowers. But the point is, Hillary fucked up. Just in case you think I'm, if QAnon will probably paint me as an undercover agent for the FBI or the CIA or the deep state. It doesn't matter now. You can just say deep state and that covers everything. So whatever I am, first and foremost, I'm your Brother Seamus, and this is the Brother Seamus Show, which, as you can see to my right, stage left, is our phone number, 509-676-6032. I am barefoot, and I intend to stay that way for almost every episode. I hope you'll join me. Take off your shoes. Let's talk about what happened there. I think this statement by Hillary Clinton was what we in baseball would call an unforced error. They probably use that in other sports too. I don't know. Pardon me, my rug is crooked. And that aggression will not stand. All right, there we go. OCD out of the way. So Hillary made an error not in conveying the message, because her message was on solid ground, right? As any media person will tell you, if you blow the message, or if you blow the style, if you blow the delivery, comedians will tell you, you might have a great joke, but you fuck it up because you say it wrong. And here's the thing. Every single politician does that. They go out and they test out new material. They have to appeal to a wide audience. So they try to kind of do their own version of stand-up comedy mixed with theater, mixed with truth. And so Hillary was working on one of those lines, I think. And I think Hillary's just a straight shooter. And so she said half. That's the part that got left out. You see, it was a gift to Donald Trump, just like defund the police was a gift from the far left. When I heard defund the police, I thought, when I read about it, I was like, it's a good idea. Terrible title. People hear defund the police and it scares the shit out of them. They want police to not kill them unfairly. They don't want to get rid of the police. Point being, whether you love Donald Trump or you hate him, we all must agree statistically, because they're proud of it and they talk about it out loud, there is a percentage of Trump supporters that really is, I'm going to use the everyday term of bloodthirsty. They want violence. They like violence. They feel like the end justifies the means. In other words, they think they're so fucking correct that it's okay to start killing people. And that's what they want you to agree to, too. But you're going to let Donald Trump do all the deciding and who gets to do the killing. So there is a percentage of Trump supporters who will tell you to your face. You don't need, your brother Seamus doesn't need to, I need a little echo for that kind of situation. Your brother Seamus isn't here to tell you what the truth is. Ask them. They'll tell you violence is okay, a certain percentage. Now, she said 50%. I don't know, man. What do you guys think? 50%? I think that's way too high. I got my own theory. I break it down into thirds. So I would say to former Secretary Clinton, who did a good job defending our country. I know you want to blame her for atrocities committed by terrorists in another country. Hillary can't control she can't make the earth spin differently. Terrorists attack U.S. troops all the time. All the time. Maybe some of our policies have fueled sentiment in certain parts of the world, some people would say, I'm putting it mildly, that encourage terrorists. Maybe we have abused our power. Of course we have. That doesn't mean that we should turn it over to someone who says, hey, let me abuse power. I'll abuse it in your favor. That's what Hitler said, right? And then the guy that started the brown shirts, his right-hand man, Hitler had him shot. He tried to make him shoot himself first. And Hitler loved him. Hitler, without this guy, Hitler may not have ever been Hitler. And then Hitler killed him because he knew it was advantageous to his plan to get rid of this guy for reasons we won't go into. Hillary said half of Trump supporters are deplorable, and then she went on to name the stuff. What she should have said is, I'm concerned about the large number of deplorables, but then drop the word deplorable. I'm concerned about the large number of people that love Mr. Trump who really hate black people, who are truly white supremacists. I'm worried about how many of them there are, because it seems like a lot. That's my personal impression. They seem to hate everybody except white men. They're called white nationalists, and it is a very strong sliver of Trump's electoral pie. He would be nothing without the avowed racists. And the avowed racists will tell you, you don't have to take it from, hey, let me tell you something over here. You don't have to take it from your brother Seamus. I'm just going to jump in from a close-up here. Give me a camera one shot over at the desk. And I'm just going to kneel right into it on a 20,000 millisecond fade. Hey, listen, you don't have to take it from me. They'll tell you themselves. If you're in the middle or you just started voting, if you're a young voter, what I'm saying here is easily provable. A portion, an unknown portion, of Donald Trump's political base are avowed white nationalist racists who really believe, and they'll tell you to your face, that white people and black people can't live together and they have to be in different communities. And by the way, black people should still be slaves, because they would say, the white nationalists would argue through Prager University. That's the Nazi university, by the way, if you didn't know. Them Nazis over there at Prager U, people. Your brother Seamus tells you true. I just tell it like it is. I can spot hey, you guys, I can spot a Nazi a mile away. It's in his strut. They're always overconfident. So if you ask them straight, hey, are you really, you've got all these weird insignias on your shirt. There's a lot of snakes and flags and guns and shit. Are you an avowed racist? And you know what they'll say? Let me cut to my other camera, make it more dramatic. That's the wrong one, bro. You know what they'll say on this 20,000 millisecond fade to camera 2? Cue Brother Seamus with his ice cold brew coffee. They will say, hell yes. They'll say, hell yes, we're Nazis. They won't necessarily use the word Nazis, but they'll agree with you, right? They'll agree with you that they really do believe that white people are superior in some way, which is weird because the only thing that's actually different about white people is that we have less melanin. And the reason we have less melanin is because that's God's sunblock, people. We moved up, we chased the juicy ungulate north to Ireland. At least that's where my people went. And they're like, oh, look, it's gray and wet and soggy, but it is beautiful. Filled with mold spores. And they're like, well, let's stay here. They had arrived from Africa because that's where we all arrived from. There might be one other spot out there. I think they're debating whether we know for sure the earliest humans were in Africa. There might have been other early humans in another place. I've heard tell, but I think it's hotly debated, and I probably shouldn't even be talking about it. Because your brother Seamus ain't no anthropologist. I am a psychologist, and I can tell you from a mass marketing, mass media, mass persuasion point of view, Donald Trump is a type of simple genius, I would call him. He's a very stable genius. I'd go with more simple genius, almost like he's a pure type, right? He's good at this one thing, but he also has a superpower. I know that'll piss some liberals off, but you got to have some sympathy for the devil. Donald Trump's superpower is that he has no shame. He does not know what shame is, so he's just like, oh, I'm just going to lie to you all the time. I'm going to lie right to your faces. I'll go in the next room and do a speech where I say the exact opposite of what I just told you, because I can. That's his superpower. He's got just enough money, and now he's super famous. He always wanted to be super famous, and now he is. So there's a certain genius to that. He's always been a millionaire. He was born into a multi-millionaire family. Even if he actually cared about you, he wouldn't understand your lives. Donald Trump doesn't know what it means to live in the hood, and doesn't know what it means to live in a trailer park, which is the country version of the hood, right? But now, coming to a suburb near you, he cares about the millionaires and the billionaires. He'll tell you that also pretty much. He pretty much told the billionaires recently, if you're just joining us, Gen Z voters, millennial voters, I hope you'll consider for voting for Sleepy Joe. I think he's got it. I think he's got the right mix. If you're in the middle, let me tell you a little something about Sleepy Joe real quick. And then I'll get back to bashing on Donald Trump. And then I'll get back to why Hillary never should have said deplorable, but she should have described the behaviors. The gift that she gave to the far right was that it was just such a good slogan. Like, lock her up, deplorable. It almost seems like something Roger Stone would have come up with. Stop the steal. And it allowed them to take the word away immediately. You know, it's like a fumble. It's like you just gave them the ball, Hillary. Or whoever wrote that for Hillary. But hey, you know what? We all do it. If I ran for office ever, I've probably already said 10 things that they'll use against me. But So let that be known for future people who are battling against any form of extremism. That's what MAGA is. That's what Nazis are. That's what fascism is. It's just all extremism from the right. On the left, they love to call it socialist dictatorships and communist oppressors and communist dictatorships. They're all the same thing. Forget all the stupid words. They're all the same thing. Hillary was trying to point at that, and she was correct in doing so. And all of us should point at people who think that we should go back to having a dictator of any kind, left or right. Trump likes to call the left, all kinds of shit. Socialist, Marxist, Democrat, socialist, Marxist, Democrat, communist. He uses fascist now because he knows it was sticking to him a little bit. So now he says fascist for the people on the left, which shows you how none of these words really matter. The question is, which party right now, those you get your two choices. Someday we'll have ranked choice voting. But for now, you got to pick a guy that says we should have rules and we should all follow the rules and no one man can have too much power, including me as the president. And another guy who says, no, the president should have all the power. Especially, you know what Trump really wants the power for? He wants that sweet, sweet revenge, people. Even those of you who love him know. I know you know. Your brother Seamus knows you know. I know you know, even if you love the man, that he wants that kind of power. Joe Biden won't even pardon his son. You watch. He's as good as his word. He said he would not pardon his son, and he won't. QAnon will say that he will later, but he won't. Even if he's elected again, he's not going to do it. He knows his son has to pay for these alleged horrible crimes. Lying on a gun form. I know a lot of you lied on your gun forms. I'm not saying I lied, because your brother Seamus loves his guns too. Some of y'all lied on your gun forms, though. I know it. I know you know it. So anyway, Hillary says this thing about the deplorables, and it sets off a media frenzy, a mass communication frenzy. And honestly, our journalists got to be better at, we got to stop this endless need for the over-the-top scoop, because now all the news gets inflated. It gets exaggerated. And what they're finding is the more upset they make people, the more people watch the news. So as your brother Seamus, my advice is don't watch so much, read a little more, read different sources. Reading slows your brain down, makes it a little more able to detect bullshit. When someone's performing in front of you, much like I am now, you may or may not be able to detect the bullshit. For example, I may have been feeding you subliminal messages in this background music. It's possible. Not likely with me, because I wouldn't waste my time doing that. But if you want to slow your brain down, and you don't reward the press for bullshit stories. That's what pretty much the whole Fox News model is now. Is like, can we upset our viewers enough? Can we scare them enough so they keep watching? Right? Got to keep them watching, people. So they become increasingly reckless in what they do, and then they get sued for almost, what was it, $750-ish, $758 billion, and they won. The people suing Fox News won. One of the voting machine companies, I forgot which one. But what's important is Fox News was lying, and they had to pay money for it. Big money. So if you think they're not lying, I invite you to at least try to watch other things. I watch the other things. I don't like it. It's difficult, but I also read. And there are also other ways of detecting bullshit, people. So I don't know how this all connects back to Hillary Clinton's comments, but it does in some vague way. Let's listen to her comments right now. And I'm going to turn the music down just a smidge. Okay, here we go. Hillary Clinton shouldn't have said the word deplorables.
I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we?
Yep.
Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time.
No, sir.
We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic.
This is her mistake right here.
You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right?
So she got a good
The
laugh
racist,
there.
sexist, homophobic, xenophobe, just be grossly generalistic.
And she names.
You could put half of.
She tells us, because she's aware,
You know,
I think.
to just be grossly generalistic. You know, to just be grossly generalistic. You could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
All right, let's pause that for a minute. So what she did there, folks, is she basically kind of said, okay, I'm going to be kind of crass right now. I'm going to be kind of rude. But I don't want to insult. She didn't want to insult all of the Trump supporters. But I think there are two mistakes here. One is you don't say it like that, of course. I think she knew it probably was going over like a lead balloon after she said it, probably within a few hours. Everyone that makes speeches in public will do that. You're going to make mistakes. And the people on the right seized on it, because what that turned into was she's calling all of the people on the right deplorables. All of the Trump voters are deplorables. And of course that's not true. People on the left are afraid that the people on the right are going to let loose with another Hitler-style government. You think it can't happen here, but that's what they're afraid of. And they see the people on the right as being sucked in by a bullshit artist, Mr. Donny Pants, I call him. I don't like him. I don't have to like him. It's my right as an American to not like him and criticize him. I'll criticize Joe too, but that's that's a much easier task. But she alienated the whole group. That's my point. That's my rambling point. It's okay to pick on your opponent, and it's okay to say, you know, some of his followers really scare me with their white supremacy, because it's a valid concern. There is a portion of Trump's voter base, the people that vote for Trump, who are openly flagrantly racist, and they think you should deport anybody with dark skin. I always want... This is a side note. I always want to know what the test is. You know? Like, how black is black and how white is white? Because, of course, they're concepts that don't make any sense. I think when I last left our hunting brigade, we were in Ireland, and what happened was within 2 generations, our skin started to turn white. So the racists who they are firmly committed. I'm not here to talk about whether racists should be treated one way or another. I'm here to say that group exists, right? You know they exist. They say, hey, we exist and we believe this. We believe Donald Trump should be dictator so he can kill and go after whoever he wants. So if you're a new voter, think about this. They want to give him absolute power without consulting Congress, your representatives. Without consulting your representatives, he wants to take military action at the border. All right, some of you might be like, well, that's not so bad. But then he may use the military against the public, the U.S. public, because that's what those guys always do. They always do that. So Hillary was calling attention to the fact that that group of people exist. They exist and they're proud. Just like LGBTQ people exist and they're proud and they announce who they are. Good for them. The Nazis are trying to have it the same way, where they're out loud and proud. But if we don't support them, even though we don't threaten them with violence, they will threaten us with violence. That's the basic difference between a Nazi and a regular person. They are so convinced they're right. Gen Z voters, millennial voters, this will be on the exam. They're so convinced they're right that they think it's all right, and Mr. Trump agrees. You ask him. Ask Tom Cotton. They think it's okay to then do violence against you if you disagree with them. And some of you who think that you're on Trump's side and he'll be on your side, will be like, well, yeah, until you're no longer useful to him. And then you'll get the same thing that Hitler's right-hand man got. They told him he had to shoot himself or they would shoot him. He refused to shoot himself. Good for him. Bad for him for involving himself with Hitler. Yeah. He was an openly gay man. He was Hitler's right-hand man that helped him start what was called the SA, or the brown shirts. Yeah. They evolved to be, I think they eventually turned into SS or whatever. Maybe not. Anyway, his right-hand man that helped him come to power, as soon as Hitler got to power, what did he do? He whacked his right-hand man because politics came up and this guy was not convenient to him anymore. You hear that, Steve Bannon? When you become inconvenient to El Fuhrer Trump, when you become inconvenient to him, if I were you, I'd get the hell out of town. Anybody that works for Trump could become a victim at any time. And even if you love Trump, you better think about that. Joe Biden is not going to have anybody assassinated. He's just not. And you know it. He grew up a regular middle-class guy. He made insulin cheaper. He's making healthcare more affordable. He does all this practical stuff, people. He builds roads and bridges, for cry Pete. And you want to vote for Mr. Donny Pants, who never once came out with a infrastructure bill. It's the thing that creates amazing jobs. That's what infrastructure does, and that's what Joe Biden did. That's why I love me some Sleepy Joe, people. I love me some Sleepy Joe, but I can't find my icon for it. Where did it go? Sleepy Joe. Well, somewhere in here I've got a lovely Sleepy Joe hashtag sign, but for now you'll just have to trust me. So Hillary Clinton said these words on September 10th, 2016. This is just an example. I think it's an important example to study on the effects of mass communication on the psyche. I'm sure that Hillary understood that her faux pas, even though the basic idea was sound, there are deplorable folks in the Trump community. You have to decide if you want a government that supports hate speech and violent assaults on people who happen to have less than white skin, or, as I like to say about myself, I was trying to do this joke earlier and I forgot. I'm light peach, people. Your brother Seamus is light peach. I don't like to say I'm white. I think we should all pick on the color wheel, because this whole idea of black and white is nonsense. It's nonsense. More or less melanin in your skin is no reason to separate people. It's no more reason to separate people than left-handedness and right-handedness. At least left-handed and right-handed people have some actual neurological differences. It doesn't mean one is worth more or less than the other, although they used to think that. For you Gen Z millennial voters who I hope will go out to the polls in droves, we left 80 million votes on the table. Joe got 81, Donnie Pants got 74. 81 million people didn't vote last time. People. So she shouldn't have said it. Not because she was completely wrong. I would lower that percentage. What's the core of hardcore racists who actually think it's okay to do violence? Or, I'm going to add a group because they both end up doing violence, folks with mental illness. Okay? Everybody knows somebody that's mentally ill. If you bombard somebody whose grip on reality isn't that good to begin with, if you bombard them with inflammatory lies, which is what Donnie Trump has been doing since the beginning. He really came to form after the 2020 election when he clearly lost. Even his own person, the guy that ran his election security for him, said, no, this was secure. This guy loved Trump, and Trump fired him. That's the whole story. Look it up for yourself. The guy said it was the most secure election we've had. And even, I mean, to me, that sounds a little hyperbolic. Like, I don't know that it was the most secure. I think he was bragging. But there was nothing to indicate it wasn't secure. But Donnie's superpower kicked in. He was like, no, I was robbed. Let's accuse black people and Hispanic people. Right? He didn't accuse white people of cheating in the election, for those of you who don't follow the details. Every community was either largely black or largely brown. Largely black, largely brown. That's how Donnie Trump likes it. But now he's courting. He's out there trying to give googly eyes. He's blowing kisses at black and Hispanic folks who he would happily imprison or have killed by the military in the street for any sort of protest. He wanted the military to go in during the George Floyd protest / riots. Yeah, things got out of hand. No cops got mortally wounded, though, like they did on January 6th. 140 cops injured on January 6th. I'm sure there were some minor injuries during the George Floyd protest, but they were not, by and large, nobody was targeting cops. The cops had to hold the line, and they did. That's their job. We have to have a balance between law and order and justice. A vote for Mr. Trump is a vote for Mr. Trump getting to decide what the law is. And I know that gives some of you a political self-righteous kind of boner. I know it does. It's not your fault completely that you feel that way, but you have to realize What you're basically saying is you have the right to end other people's lives without them ever having a say in it. That's what the end of law and order is. Everybody's talking about the end of democracy. Forget that. That's too abstract. It's the end of law and order. It'll be oligarchs, just like it is in Russia. And Trump will tell you he thinks that's a better system. But I'm asking you, young voter, do you want a bunch of billionaires telling you what to do? I mean, they kind of do already. Do you want to make it even more that you don't have any rights? Because that's what Mr. Trump's asking you to do. He's asking you to endorse him becoming king. And I don't think he would really deny that. I hope you don't either. It's what he do. That's what makes Donnie Pants tick, people. And you don't have to be a psychologist like me. I've been a psychologist for 30 years. Donnie Trump gets hard on power. And he gets high on Adderall. And some people say he poops his pants. I'm not saying that's true. Donnie Poopy Pants. I'm not saying it's true. It's just some shit I heard. Now, the way Trump would lie in this case, this will be on the exam, by the way. Trump would say, people are saying that Mr. Trump poops his pants. He wouldn't tell you which people, and it would be the people inside his own head, first of all, and his staff probably said it because he told them to. And now he's like, yeah, people are saying. So Donnie Poopy Pants would tell you to your face. He would think you're suckers for going along with a voting system. He thinks our own soldiers are suckers for actually fighting to defend a free country. He's like, just let me be in charge. Well, dude, that's the opposite of a free country. He's asking you to vote, to give away your vote. That's what Donnie Trump is doing. Now, of course, you have the right to vote for anybody you want, and I support that. See, the difference is on our side, we say we support your right to vote for him. We don't like it. But if somebody tried to stop you from voting, I would intervene on your behalf. I say help everybody vote. Rich or poor, tall or short, black or white. Your brother Seamus is like peach, as I mentioned earlier. I'd like to reiterate with a purple. I got a purple hue going today, people. That's not really purple, is it? What is that? Is that magenta? If you have a bald head, you should use it as a stage prop. Where was I? So Hillary said the thing. They ran with the ball. It's like fumbling in football. I don't blame Hillary at all. I don't blame whoever wrote it. It probably sounded good the first couple times they said it to each other, but you say it to a crowd, and you got an oppo person in the crowd going, "Oh, look at that!" And then it turned into not only Hillary but the entire Democratic Party, because they laughed and applauded that line. We all think Trump supporters are deplorable. I don't think that at all. Another important point. This whole, whether you support Trump or you support Biden right now is not really what's important. Forget the players. They want to distract you with, oh, Biden's got mental problems and then Trump's got mental problems. Guess what? They both probably have some. I can say this with absolute certainty as a psychologist. As you get older, your cognitive functioning decreases. Unless you're like that crazy Russian 93-year-old weightlifter who like works out 4 hours a day or something. He's the only one whose cognitive ability hasn't declined. There is no indication that either one of them have lost touch with reality. Physical stumbles, even if they pause, you know, the Mitch McConnell pause, then you're starting to get in a little bit more dangerous territory. It's about their policies. It's just like football. If the quarterback gets injured, the second string is coming in. Do you want Kamala Harris coming in or whoever crazy Donnie Pants chooses? I'd go with Kamala anywhere. I don't know why anybody would. I don't know why anybody would go otherwise. But that's me. That's my bias. But I support your right to vote. I just don't want you to vote for Trump. I'm exercising my free speech to try to talk you out of it. And I say this as a friend and a psychologist of 30 years. I feel like I'm talking you away from a cliff. But you're stepping backwards, and you're so worried about arguing with me that you're not seeing the cliff behind you. I don't want you to fall to your death and the death of the country, or to a long protracted battle where we have to wrestle power back from a king. We already wrestled the power off the king. We were good. And now Donnie Pants wants to be king? You don't need to believe this from me. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe nobody on social media should be believed. I would agree with that. If they would let me turn off all social media right now, I would. But look what it does. It allows me to be in your phone, in your feed, because I can pay money. Lots of people can pay money. Very bad people can pay money to use social media to get into your brains. And just like Hitler, repetition, repetition, repetition. So if the avowed racists are proud to say they support Trump, you should be aware of that. Hillary shouldn't have said it, not because it's such a horrible thing to say, but because it was so easy to use that line to, it actually improved the esprit de corps of the far right. They were like, yes, she's calling us names. We got her. We got her right where we want her. And I'm sure Hillary was like, oh, shit. Don't worry, Hillary. We all do it. I've probably done it 3 times today. That's what your brother Seamus do. He would love to take your calls. He may not have turned on his phone yet. Let's see. Sometimes I keep the phone off until I get to, the end of my opening sermon. 42 minutes. That is too long, people. Let's do some homework real quick. Phone is on. Let's test the phone lines first. Then we'll
County Road Commission, I just want to thank you for the service that you're doing for free.
Oh, thank you,
on
sir.
On the internet, we've got a lot of guys out on the road right now clearing all the ice and snow so people can get home safely. And
thank you.
the free entertainment and spiritual guidance that you're providing the citizens of Kent County is greatly appreciated. Thank you for drawing some recognition to all of that. And just want to let you know your YouTube signal is working correctly, and
cool.
we are receiving it loud and clear. So
excellent.
Again, keep up the good work, and God bless you, boys.
Well, that was a lovely message from one of our first and only callers. You can call this number anytime. If you call right this minute, it's almost 1 p.m. Walla Walla, Washington time. But if you call right now, you'll be live on the show, which is more exciting, isn't it? We can talk about anything. My basic premise here has always been that Mr. Trump is just Nazi 2.0. Some of you are down with that. I think it's a huge mistake. I think we've been down this road before. And they're saying it themselves, people. I don't have to say it anymore. Go to project2025.org. Read their crazy ass, balls crazy shit. That's what Project 2025 is. And there's a lot of big money behind it. You know why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why as soon as I get back from a break. There's a reason, people. There's a reason that big money is supporting Mr. Trump in many ways, including oil billionaires. Well, I'll go ahead and tell you now, because you already know. Little Donnie Pants said to the billionaires, the fossil fuel companies who are continuing to push gasoline, continuing to profiteer off of hardworking Americans. Donnie Trump said, hey, you elect me. First, he said, throw a cool billion at your big daddy Donnie, and if you do, I'll give you more tax breaks. Because that's all they want, people. That's the whole fucking thing. The whole QAnon situation? I'm sure some of you are aware of the QAnon situation. It's an online conspiracy theory meant to prop up people like Vladimir Putin, Donald Trump, Kim Jong-un, dictators, oligarchs, people who want to use money to get other people killed because they can't win an election fair and square. QAnon has become sort of their minister of propaganda. If you want to know what the conspiracies are, you go to QAnon. And we have to counteract that, number one. Number two, you should know the real conspiracy. I almost forgot what my point was. Like, oh yeah, I got to tell you the real conspiracy. This will be on the exam. The real conspiracy is billionaires want to keep more and more of their money. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't fight for their stacks, baby. You should fight for your mad stacks, but you shouldn't fight so hard that you're willing to destroy the host organism, i.e. the United States. If you destroy that organism, you turn it over to Donnie Pants and the fascists, because they all do this, you will wreck the economy. They always wreck the economy. At first it looks good because they basically do socialism. They induct a lot of people into the military. But they use the military to fight against whoever they don't like, including their own people. It's the same story. Those billionaires that are supporting Trump just want more money. I think it's our holy mission to make them be fair to you and pay a fair wage to you when their profits are soaring. You can call that whatever you want. You can call it organized labor. You can call it socialism. I don't give a rat's fuck what you call it. You know why? Because words don't mean shit. Your paycheck means shit. Let me get a little more echo on there. Your paycheck means some shit. Now, Donnie Pants was smart because, like I said earlier, he's a type of genius. He's a simple genius who some have said, I don't know if this is true or not, some have said he poops his pants. But who amongst us doesn't? I ask you. Can I get an amen? Thank you, ma'am. It's all about the Benjamins. That's all I'm saying. You don't need QAnon. It's all about the money. Donald Trump is a simple genius because he saw exactly how to kind of trick people into feeling like they're being cheated and then blame it on the Democrats, right? And you are being cheated. This will be on the exam. You are being cheated. The cost of living has gone up so much more than wages have. The cost of living goes up, up, up. Your wages haven't gone up, up, up. Donnie Trump wants you to blame the immigrants. The immigrants didn't do it. Because if it was just the immigrants, you know what would happen? Every single president would have said, if you hire a person without papers, we're coming after you. And they would have put a stop to immigration immediately because those billionaires want immigration to continue. But they want you to blame the immigrants that they are using for somewhat cheaper labor. They also know you don't want to do the jobs. Let me speak in the we. I don't want to do those jobs. I don't want to pick fruit. Holy crap. Can you imagine? All day long in the sun? Damn. I had a crew painting my house. It was like 3 white boys and a Mexican kid. Early 20-something. It was so hot. We had a heat wave. A rare heat wave here in Walla Walla, Washington. We had a heat wave. The 3 white boys stopped showing up for work. Hey, and I'm a white boy. I get it. I'm like, I can't work in this shit. It's too hot. I'm going to die. The Mexican young man showed up and worked his ass off, and I fucked up because I did not get his phone number fast enough before he was done, and he was gone. I mean, it took him a couple weeks. I should have asked his phone number sooner. But my point is, he worked his ass off. And that's what immigrants are really becoming known for. Trump wants you to think they're murderers and rapists, but you know what they really are? They're really hard-working people who know, they know that they have to prove themselves and make themselves stand apart, and they're good at it. They are propping up our economy in many ways. Why do you think your strawberries are so cheap? As Dave Chappelle pointed out. You and I don't want to pick the damn strawberries. You and I just don't want to pick the strawberries. It's too hard. But if we really wanted to stop immigration, which the billionaires don't because it's cheaper labor for them, they would arrest people who are hiring them. But guess who's hiring them? This will be on the exam. The same billionaires who want you to think that it's the immigrants' fault and they should deport them. Because if you ask me, I think what Donald Trump will do is he'll set up some concentration camps. He said he would. I think he'll set up concentration camps and he'll put a bunch of people in there to make it look good. And then they'll say, well, we're gonna send you back to Mexico unless you want to stay here and work, but you're a prisoner now. And now we're gonna pay you the way we pay prisoners. So forget about the QAnon stuff, people. It's just the billionaires. It's always just been the billionaires. And you may not like Sleepy Joe, but at least Sleepy Joe thinks the billionaires should have to follow rules too. That's all it really is, people. Do billionaires have to follow rules too? This is your Brother Seamus Show. I apologize if I'm rambling. Not really, I take that back. I don't apologize. I enjoy rambling. This graphic always shoots up to be real big. And I don't need it that big. Oh, I'm messing up the thing. So I'm the host, folks, and I'm also I work the board. And this is live footage of Walla Walla, Washington. It's a hot day out here, people. It's hot all over the country. I hope you're taking care of yourselves, and I hope you call me at 509-676-6032. I'm a redneck at heart, but I'm one of them crazy atheist liberal preachers that you probably heard about. Or not. You might not have heard about the crazy atheist liberal preachers. I'm not here to enforce my lifestyle on you. But it appears that some of the folks in the Donald Trump cult think it is their place to impose their lifestyle on others, especially women. Do you really want the government to tell you what to do with your body? Whether you're a man or a woman, that sounds like some dangerous shit to me.
right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive, but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive, but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment. You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up. I think we know what we're up against. We do, don't we? Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign, the way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up. He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive, but also dangerous. Don't see the latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time. We are living in a volatile political environment.
That's true.
You know, to just be grossly generalistic.
Go ahead. It's a mistake.
You could
Go
put
ahead.
half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Yeah. Right?
The number's too high.
The racist,
Her basic
sexist,
idea was
homophobic,
correct.
xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that.
That's true.
And he has lifted them up. And he has lifted them up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, oh.
I think we know what we're up against.
Oh, yeah.
We do, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Donald Trump has pledged to appoint Supreme Court justices who will overturn marriage equality. And if you read about the people that he says are the ones he's likely to appoint, he's not kidding. In fact, if you look at his running mate signed a law that would have let businesses discriminate against LGBT Americans. And there's so much more that I find deplorable in his campaign. The way that he cozies up to white supremacists, makes racist attacks, calls women pigs, mocks people with disabilities. You can't make this up.
it's all true, people.
He wants to round up and deport 16 million people, calls our military a disaster. And every day he says something else which I find so personally offensive but also dangerous.
All right, let's
Don't
break
see
it
the
down.
latest outrageous, offensive, inappropriate comment and think, well, he's done this time.
Well, he's done this time. No, that
We are
turned out to
living in
be-
a volatile political environment.
That is very true.
You know, to just
Everybody
be
can agree on
grossly generalistic,
So right here, she's about to say the line that would then be used against her. It was one of the reasons, several reasons, that she lost the election. And an equally important reason was that she was competing against Vladimir Putin running ads on Facebook. So that was another reason she lost. James Comey helped. So we got a little Russia interference. Nobody could prove that Trump knew that it was happening. It doesn't even matter if he knew. It doesn't even matter. So she says this. It's used against her. And it was just an unforced error on her part. Everything else she says pretty much is true. And what's interesting when I'm going to play it again is that you'll hear her say, she's going to say, I'm going to be crass or gross or something like that. And she's about to tell you that she's going to do it. And then she says, Donald Trump will appoint justices that will take away marriage equality. And she was correct. That hasn't happened yet. They took away abortion first, which Hillary also predicted. So her words were all true. She shouldn't have said 50%.
you could put half of Trump supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables.
So there it is. That's the error. That's the unforced error. It happens in baseball all the time, and it happens in politics too. Trump used it to great effect because that's what he does. That's his superpower. He's a mass communicator who is brilliant at lying because he has no shame. None. And I don't even mean that. I mean that scientifically. He's not ashamed of anything. He'll lie right to your face, and if you're useful to him, he'll build you up. If you're against him, he'll try to kill you. That's what he does. But she got a laugh out of it. She got a laugh out of it.
The racist, sexist, homophobic,
And then she goes on to name all, and, you know, that's for your base, I guess. They know all those words. I think if you're trying to communicate to everybody, let's drop some of those words. I know they're very useful scientifically, and Hillary's very smart. But the reason Donald Trump connects to people is he'll use those words sometimes to just, you know, cause confusion. But he speaks pretty straightforwardly and emotionally And this was a good applause break for Hillary, but it really cost her votes.
Phobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
And she knows
And
that.
unfortunately, there are people like that.
But you
and
never
he has
know.
lifted them up.
There you go. She's correct. There are people like that, and he is lifting them up. That's her best point, really. Everybody remembers the line deplorable, but Trump is lifting them up. I forgot you were in this camera over here. We better get over on this camera. Did you see that, Andrew? I forgot what camera I'm on. I was talking so passionately into the camera. Cypher Hither is here today to do some bass stylings for you in a minute, but you don't get the bass stylings until we finish our lesson. And this Brother Seamus's tendency is to run on for way too long, but I have so much fun doing it. So Hillary, she effed up. We all do it. If you ever played baseball, you've been involved in a number of unforced errors. Sometimes the ball goes between your legs. I'm not mad at anybody. I would like to quibble with her number. She says 50%. I would say it's a tough call, because where do you draw the line between a racist person who is, shall we say, still capable of empathy, and a racist person who, shall we say, is ready to get on with some violent action? And a thread I left dangling earlier was that the mentally ill folks, when you bombard them with fear-based messaging, hashtag invasion, right? Invasion, invasion, invasion. That's a horrifying word for people. And they know that. Steve Bannon knows that. He said, I'm going to do this thing. He said, I'm going to flood the zone with shit, and he's doing it. We have to counterspeak all of their bullshit. It's the only way out of this. Social media doesn't care. They're profiting off of it either way it goes, and we can't hold them accountable. But we'll set that aside for a minute. They target mentally ill people. I believe this. I think they have figured out, with the help of social media algorithms, how to target people who are mentally ill enough to be scared enough to go out and do some violence. It's a small group of people, but it's an important effect. So let's counteract it. Let's counter-speak it. But let's not say half of Trump supporters are deplorable. Let's say a goodly 25% of humanity. Let's drop the political bullshit for a minute, because it's all bullshit. It's all made up, right? Democrat, Republicans, all made up bullshit. What we're talking about is rules. Are there some rules? Are we going to follow rules, or does Trump get to assassinate anyone he wants with SEAL Team 6? And he very much wants you to say, give me that power. You can trust me because I love you, and you're my children, and all that bullshit. But if he really loves you and you're really his faithful followers, why did he leave all those Jan 6 people to fend for themselves when it went to trial? He could have helped them. That's all attorneys will tell you this. The time to help is up front. He could have put significant money to help those defendants. He's got tons of money, and you keep giving him money, and he leaves you rotting in jail. Now he'll promise to let you out later. I'll gladly pay you on Tuesday for a hamburger today. Well, that was too loud, wasn't it? Sorry, Sam. I'd gladly pay you on Tuesday for a hamburger today. That's what Trump's saying to the January 6 people in jail. Why weren't you there when they got arraigned? You could have sent a team of lawyers. It would have cost 1/3 of what you're paying for yourself, you selfish prick. Donnie Trump's a selfish prick. Donnie Trump's a selfish prick. Donnie Trump's a selfish prick. Donnie, selfish prick. Donnie Trump's a selfish prick. Donnie, selfish prick. Donnie, selfish prick. Donnie Trump, selfish prick. Da da doom doom bop bop da doom doom bop bop doom boom bop bop boo bop boom boom bop bop boom bop boom bop boom boom bop bop boom. Donnie Trump is a selfish prick, a selfish prick, a selfish prick. Donnie Trump's a selfish prick. Da 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 doo. Da 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 da. Fill in your own words right there now. Donnie Trump is a oh, I fucked it up. One more go. Here we go. Donnie Trump is a selfish prick. Donnie Trump is a selfish prick. Donnie Trump is a selfish prick. Hee ha hooray. That's a terrible ending. All right. I think I've said most everything I could say. Hillary wasn't wrong. She just inflated her numbers. It's an unforced error. It doesn't matter if you call it fascist or dictatorship or kingship or whatever. It's all a way to strip you of your rights. They got abortion, and they're coming for more, people. Gay marriage is next, if you ask me, because Donnie Trump made a deal. That's what I'm here to do. I'm your brother Seamus. I'm here to preach about what Donnie Trump has done. He made a deal with the hard right Christian fundamentalists and the KKK. They all love him. They all love him because he is giving them control over women's bodies now. He's given them control in many states. So if you're young and you want to vote, you should know if Trump gets in there, you're never getting Roe v. Wade back. And probably they'll start taking away gay marriage because that's what Clarence taught. They'll tell you that. You don't have to trust your brother Seamus. They will tell you this with their own mouths because they're proud of it. They think they have a right to be in your bedroom. Hillary tried to warn you, but you wouldn't listen because she used the word deplorable. All right. I think we're ready for a bass jam. You ready over there for a bass jam? Here comes the bass jam if I can get the beats. What happened to my beats? 1, 2, 3, 4. It's Cypher Hither on the bass today. This is live bass music at the Brother Seamus Show. I don't know where the fudge you been, but this is where we get down. This is where your brother Seamus does the unthinkable. He changes sunglasses and camera angles all in one 20 millisecond fade. Let me get some volume up on. I'm also the sound operator. Got to get some volume. There it is. Let's see how that plays. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Here we go. That's right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's right. That's right. Come on. That's right. Come on. That's right. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on now. That's right. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah. It's the Brother Seamus Show, people. We got live bass guitar by Cypher Hither. You want to see him? He may not want to be seen. I'm going to have to go off stage here. Stage left. Or is that stage right? I forget. Let me go ask Cypher if he wants to be on television or not. You want to be on television, sir? That's a definite affirmative. He said, let the record show. He said, Yow. Yow. Let's see, I'm gonna go from this side. He's been here the whole time, people. You just didn't even know it. He's like the wizard. He's like the wizard in the Wizard of Oz, people. Don't freak out. He's just a bass player. He's just a wandering minstrel. I can tell I'm too loud right now. I'm going to turn down the overall record volume so I don't cap it out. I'm going to apply a filter. Oh, we got a filter. We're good. I was going to put a separate filter on the bass, a compressor, but it's going through the same line. That's a note for Sam. We're getting compressed, bro. Did you know that? You feel compressed. I feel compressed too, man. Thanks for joining us today. I have like 56 subscribers. I hope you'll subscribe. But if you don't, I understand. Not everybody. Uh-oh. Oh, he caught it. I felt it slipping away. I felt the blood rush into my brain. Nobody called again today. Nobody called. But I'm not upset. I actually think I'll look back on these days and I'll be grateful for these times where I didn't have to deal with callers. I just think I'll probably think that way. Because you get nostalgic sometimes, people. You get nostalgic for the days when you could just ramble on. Today's music is brought to you by Sam, our music producer Sam Kenny out of Michigan. We're recording live in Walla Walla, Washington. Live bass guitar by Cypher Hither, who lives everywhere and nowhere all at once. We believe that immigrants make great Americans. We believe that immigrants make great Americans. We believe that immigrants make great Americans. We believe that ginning up hatred toward immigrants is immoral, unethical, and unwise. They're an integral part of our economy, and we need them. If you want to show your support for immigrants who are just like us, yes, there are some criminals among them, just like there are criminals among us. But there are brothers and sisters, and they're coming here because people will hire them. If there was really a problem, they could crack down on the employers, but they never do. Because the same billionaires that want you to hate the immigrants and want you to hate the left, the so-called left, they're the same people employing those immigrants that they get you squawking about. It's a trick to get you to vote in tax cuts for them. Hell, half the billionaires wouldn't be billionaires without immigrant labor. I can't prove that, but I'll bet it's true. Sometimes I'll say things I can't prove, but they seem right at the time, you know. But that's what we do on the Brother Seamus Show. We listen to bass riffs. Big Daddy Cypher playing the bass riffs. We hang out in the Walla Walla, Washington studios, and we think about making the world a better place. And it starts with Gen Z and millennial voters right here in the United States. I have only one request. Your brother Seamus has only one request. Could the Gen Z voters and the millennial voters, first of all, get registered and become voters? Could you usher in a truly post-racial world based upon rules we all agree upon? Can y'all vote for that? Can you vote against the Nazis again? The MAGA Nazis, Nazis 2.0. Can you vote against them in a peaceful way, but in a powerful way? Can we protect, forget the word democracy. Do you want to protect a rules-based society where no one's above the law or not? That's all it is, man. Gen Z and millennial voters, you have the largest voting bloc in America right now, I believe. It's not your fault. It's not Gen X's fault either, but we played a part. And now we hand you the baton and say, if y'all vote in big numbers, real big numbers, 81 million big, that's probably too big. But you know what I'm saying? We left 81 million votes on the table, 1/3 of the eligible population, not just over 18, but voting eligible. Roughly 1/3 of them didn't even show up to vote. You want universal health care so you don't go broke when your appendix ruptures? You better vote. You want pre-K, universal pre-K for every kid so we can put an end to poverty? You better vote. Sitting at home and acting like it don't matter. I shouldn't yell at you. You guys didn't do anything wrong. And I didn't get involved in politics till I was much older, probably my 30s. But we need you. We need Gen Z voters, millennial voters. Y'all can be conservative and liberal as you want. That's not the issue. The issue is, do you want rules-based order? And if you love Mr. Trump, you just have to think about things a little bit. Calm down a little bit. I'm not talking down to you, but I want you to think about, he was found guilty by a jury of his peers. He has more money than God. He had attorneys from all over the country. He flew in the best attorneys. He still couldn't get a single juror to go with him. 0 for 12. Some of them were on his side politically. They even said so. How come he couldn't convince one person out of 12? They'll tell you, if you ask the jury, because overwhelming evidence. And almost everyone that testified against Mr. Trump, almost everyone that testified against him was one of his own people. But he's very good. He's very good at convincing people of things that just aren't true. He's very good at it. I hope to convince you otherwise. I believe that what I'm saying is based in rational, reasonable evidence. Many of the things I've said today about Mr. Trump are things he said himself. So if you're a new voter and you don't believe me, go to C-SPAN. Go to C-SPAN and start watching his rallies. I think they post them fairly quickly. It's public TV, people. You can watch his rallies. Don't watch too much because it's pretty gross. But you'll get the idea. You'll get the idea, people. And Hillary, if you're listening, I promise I'm not picking on you. I'm sure I've made bigger mistakes. I've never had the pressure of running for any elected office. How about that? That's another thing, people. You think it's easy being a politician? You're going to say things wrong. You're going to fuck up. You're going to be sick. Hell, I've heard tell people, I don't tell tales out of school or anything, but I've heard tell that little Donnie Pants poops his pants sometimes. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. Your brother Seamus should be above talking about people crapping in their trousers. But it happens. Can I get an amen? Amen. All right. See, everybody going to poop their drawers sometimes. If you disagree with me, call. If you don't disagree with me, otherwise known as agreeing with me, you should also call. You should also call. If you're watching us on Facebook, we are hosted by Humans for Democracy. I'll put a link in the YouTube profile. We're simulcasting on Q109 FM out of Walla Walla, Washington, up atop the great Spaghetti Mountain. Come see us sometime. This is the Brother Seamus Show. Signing off with one more round of Oh Yeah by the Pickle Fort Ensemble. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh Yeah is by Ogo Pogo. It's a new band out of Walla Walla. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, people. Nobody called again, but I will not feel chagrined. 509-676-6032. We're on Facebook under Humans for Democracy, YouTube, The Brother Seamus Show, TikTok, Brother Seamus Show. You can call this number anytime, day or night. I usually won't answer, but leave a creative message. Cypher Hither is leaving the building, ladies and gentlemen. If you are an assigned stalker for Cypher Hither, now's your cue. He's wearing a black leather jacket and pink shorts. And he's got an old gray white guy afro going. Looks pretty cool. Looks like an old version of Gabe Cotter. If you want to buy a T-shirt that says "Immigrants Make Great Americans," let me hook you up with that. I hope we did okay today, people. I hope that we covered the basic topic here, which is, kind of the same thing I'm going to talk about all the time, which is probably y'all should vote, especially you younger voters, because you're inheriting this mess. And I know it's a little depressing, but I don't know what else to do. Y'all got to come out and vote. 81 million votes sitting on the table. That's how fascists take over, people. And I hate the word fascist, but just think of it as another fancy word for right-wing extremists. There are left-wing extremists as well, of course. They're just not the ones that are calling for violence right now. Nobody on the left's calling for violence. I'm sure they'll try to. I'm sure Trump will come up with a way to pretend. I think he wanted you to think of Black Lives Matter as a violent group, but they were clearly not. How many police officers got hurt through all the months of Black Lives Matter protests? How many police officers got hurt in one single day on the January 6th sitch? I'm not going to answer those questions because you can look up the numbers for yourself. I'll give you a hint. Way more cops got hurt on January 6th than in months and months of riots, protests, however you want to think of it. They were riotous protests, or they were protesty riots. I'm not condoning destruction of property. I'm saying the cops weren't the targets. The difference was the target was the institution of unfair, biased policing. That's what they were targeting. They weren't targeting all the cops. When you say defund the police, that scares black people too, because black people don't want complete chaos in their neighborhoods either. They don't want any more than you do. They're saying, how do we make the policing more humane and fair for black people? It's a very valid thing to want. We would want the same thing if it was happening to us. Remember what Jesus taught you. I'm an atheist, but I remember what Jesus tried to teach me. I agree. Can Jesus teach an atheist? I don't know. Be kind to your neighbor. Take care of your neighbor. Support your neighbor. He said love. And now I'm, Jesus. Just on the side over here, Jesus. That's a tall order. You know what I'm saying? Love. That's a big one. I'm patient and all, but do I have to love all my neighbors? That seems like not a very good idea. Or not a very doable idea. It's a wonderful idea. Very hard to execute. That's all I'm getting at. Very hard to execute. Jesus was right. Let's be kind to our neighbors. Put yourself in other people's shoes. If you were an immigrant and you were trying to help your family back home or bring your kids and find a better life, what cause would you have to come here and create mayhem? So if you believe like I believe that immigrants make great Americans, I hope you will go to this website right here. Let's slide it in with a 10,000 millisecond slide from the stage left. Please go to Humans for Democracy. Bonfire.com is our merch host. You can type in bonfire.com/humans, /store/humans for democracy. You will find our Immigrants Make Great American t-shirts there, all different shapes and sizes and colors. There's also Being Anti-Racist t-shirts. Now I'm wearing a kind of a maroon colored Immigrants Make Great Americans t-shirt right now, but these are not available for sale yet because I was just testing out this design. I don't know yet. It's nice. This is kind of corporate-y. If you really like the design I'm wearing, send me a direct message on Facebook or YouTube, and I can tell you how to buy one directly from me. We only have like 10. I did a small print for these because I wasn't sure. But you can go to humansfordemocracy.org and link to the t-shirt site. That's also a valid way to get there. Or just go to bonfire.com/store/Humans for Democracy. We don't get money from... Bonfire is not affiliated with us. They're just our merch people. There's the classic gray, folks. I love that one, the classic gray. Immigrants, they do make great Americans, and our economy depends upon them. And Jesus said you should love your neighbor. Yeah. Guess who your neighbor is? Your neighbor is that immigrant family that Trump wants you to hate. He wants to lock them up in camps again. These are his own words. I hope you'll stop him. I think it's an affront to Christianity. I really do. And I'm an atheist preacher. I'm a lefty, redneck, atheist preacher. I'm not really a redneck anymore, but can you take the pee out of the pool? You know what I'm saying? I don't think you can take the redneck out completely. And let me give a shout out to all. I know there are lefty, redneck atheists who agree with me, or lefty redneck Christians. You don't have to be an atheist. That's just a thing I do. I'm trying it out. It's kind of nice. Feels good. I might also say I believe in nothing and I believe in everything. I think they could all be right. I feel like Jesus, Buddha, who's up there? Moses, Vishnu, Shiva. I said Buddha already. All the animal spirits, the sun spirits for the indigenous tribes. Hell, they can all be up there. They could all be half right. You know what I'm saying? I'm no mathematician, but I've heard that 90%, or no, let me do that again. I've heard that half of religion is 90% mental, people. You get what I'm saying to you? Half of religion is 90% mental. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding with y'all. I like to make fun of religion sometimes because the stories, if you really read them, they're plumb crazy, people. There's some crazy stories going on, and I will protect your right to believe those crazy stories, and I will protect everybody else's right to believe those crazy stories, but I'm not going to believe them. And I'm not ashamed to say in the same breath, Jesus was right. I don't know what it means when people say, well, he was the Son of God. Okay. I'm not opposed to that. I just don't I can't say I believe it because I don't even really know what it means. And I'm not that interested in finding out, not because I don't care, but because I got other shit to do, man. I'm busy. I got to make my sun tea and my cold brew. I just planted my wildflowers. I'll get you some pictures here before too long. I love growing wildflowers up here in Walla Walla, Washington. Woo! It's beautiful up here. Where was I? I'm an atheist. I'm a preacher. I'm a psychologist. I used to be a college teacher for a minute. I also taught gymnastics to the pipsqueaks back in the 80s, late 80s, early 90s, something like that. That was a fun gig. Teaching kids how to do somersaults and shit. Trampoline. Shoo-wee. I believe Jesus was right. And strangely, Trump's largest voting base, I believe larger than the deplorables. This is where I would disagree with Hillary. I'd say 20-25% deplorables. 20-25% people that just care about money and they don't give a shit about morality of any kind. They think the more money you have, that makes you moral, you know. So just pure financial. It's kind of a form of sociopathy, but it's mostly about money. I think you got a good half the Trump voters who are nice, kind people. I'd say half are nice and kind. But they've been tricked by some serious bullshit on social media. It's serious, people. We've got a serious infection, and I feel like if you agree with me, you should be voting for hashtag Sleepy Joe. Okay? So Jesus was right. And Trump, in his own words, says, I want to put them in concentration camps. People, we've done this before. He's gonna get rid of them all because they're the reason that your wages have not kept up with the cost of living. Except the immigrants don't have any control over wages. That's the big lie, right? That somehow the immigrants are causing this. It's really, really wealthy people that are causing this, and they don't want to pay their taxes. And that's the whole thing. Fuck QAnon. Take QAnon and kick it right out. It's a bunch of crap. How many times is QAnon going to lie to you, and then you're like, well, I guess it'll happen later. They just lie. It's made up. But hey, you're on the internet now, right? You're watching this on social media. So can you even trust? Can you trust me? Can you trust this? The only requirement to join the cult of Brother Seamus is that you have to think for yourself. You want to join my cult, people? You got to think for yourself. Hey, let me tell you something. You got to think for yourself, people. You can't be letting the people on social media how to tell you how to think. Get outside. Go play some kick the can or something. Play some games, people, while they're sitting inside looking on social media. It's crazy. I'd be a terrible pitchman if I didn't say, please buy our t-shirts. Any monies captured by t-shirt sales goes right into spreading this message on social media. I will pay to boost my shows again and again and again. Any money you give me is going to boost my show, so it'll go to more people. I think I can talk some sense, people. I think I can talk some sense, but I might do it in a crazy way. Hey, that's my right as an American. So go buy a t-shirt, would you? Could you help Brother Seamus out, buy a t-shirt? Trying to cut to the next slide here, but my switcher's stuck because I hit it too many times in a row. Got jammed up. Even in the digital world, we have the same problems. If you goose it too much, you're gonna flood it. I think I flooded it. Looks like I flooded it. Let's see if I can take it to a fade, maybe. Oh, there we go. Let's just do a simple cut. Nope, not working. Well, we're stuck here, folks. I can't switch to the next slide, so I guess that means the show's over. Should I just quit? Let's see, what if I switch from this guy over to that guy? Maybe that will, no, that won't work. Let's try remote cam. Let's see who's outside here today. I'm going to try a keyboard, command, control. There we go. Now we got our switcher back. I just want to leave you with one image. If you only watch Fox News, you're missing a lot of stuff here, people. That guy there, Mark Zuckerberg, figured out how to target you surgically with Facebook ads, and that's what I'm using to reach you. If you're watching this on social media, it's probably because I paid money to that guy there. I didn't pay money to Rupert Murdoch up there on top. He looks pretty good there. That's probably from 20 years ago. Little Marky Z makes money. Fox News makes money off spreading disinformation. I don't give Fox News money. I'm not a viewer, but I keep an eye on them. If you're going to watch Fox News, you should turn around and at least watch one other competing point of view. Otherwise, you're just not informed. Because if you're informed, you know that social media is the enemy. Little Marky Z, he wants to make money at the expense of civil society. He doesn't really care. He doesn't really care what happens to us. It's sad to say. So I'll leave you with that thought. We are a completely nonviolent organization. If you ever in any way express that using violence is a good idea, we will cut you off at the knees. We don't do violence. That's how you know we're the good team. If you're not sure who to vote for, vote for the team that directly, out loud says we will not use violence to achieve our aims. But now if they come at you, you know what I'm saying? What if they come at me with a loaded piece, right? We always have the right, always have the right to defend ourselves. Big shout out to everybody that helped me with the show, music, and live bass. The Brother Show is recorded live in the studios in Walla Walla, Washington, high atop Spaghetti Hill. Cypher Hither came in today, gave us some live bass, music by Sam Kenny out of Michigan. We'll see you on the flippity. I'll catch you on the flippity, people. See, it's supposed to fade to black there, and it didn't. Oh, there it goes. It's just so slow. Fading to black.